Welcome to the most overrated, underappreciated, most viewed, underviewed podcast of all time. Welcome to the Prince of Fresh Air. This is your host, the most charismatic man in entertainment, aka Mr. Tall Glass of Water, with my man Dimitri. Confessions to make. How you doing, man?
Yo, yo.
Just like Usher once said, it's my confession, and this goes to Mike Tyson. I am Mike Tyson, who's scheduled to fight Roy Jones Jr. in a few weeks. I think, yeah, 2 weeks. Let's get right into it. Breaking ground, breaking news in a sense. So Mike Tyson does an interview with a long term doping agency member and confessed to him using drugs and cheating drug tests, which
Wait,
is
Mike
not.
Tyson admitted to that?
Mike Tyson admitted to it. Yeah.
So
So
using PEDs?
yeah, I was not PD. So I'll break it down. So Mike Tyson was talking about how at times when he would get tested, he would get I forgot the name of it, but it's like a fake male part that you can buy and attach to your body. So what he would do is he will buy one of those and he would fill it up with his wife's urine or his children's urine because he knew he was doing cocaine and all types of drugs. So when doping agencies would come, to do the drug test, one of the things that they do is make sure that you don't have somebody out there, trying to give you, you know, a fake sample. So they have to see you disrobe. So they'll see you take off your clothes. And I'm sure you'll keep on your undergarments, but they want to make sure there's no cheating. So they'll make sure you strip. And then if you gotta go to the bathroom or something, they'll make sure the bathroom's empty so nobody's in there, stuff like that. So what he would do is this guy. So he would go in the bathroom, and the way how that thing worked is that when you squirt it, the stuff will come. Oh, whoa, the pee will come out. So he would use his wife with his kid's urine for the fake sample, and then he was doing that for a while, getting away with it because he knew if he got busted with cocaine and stuff, he'd be in big trouble.
Hmm.
Is that surprising to you, really?
No. No. I mean, not that it was, firsthand knowledge that Mike Tyson was doing drugs, but I mean, it was the 80s. Mike Tyson was freaking huge throughout, the late 80s, into the 90s. He was the dude hanging out with Bobby Brown and, Tupac and all these, huge celebrities. Yeah, that doesn't surprise me at all, man. I mean, as long as he, wasn't doing, PEDs, then, that's one thing. But I mean, hey, if that was Mike Tyson, he's not the only one that was doing that. So,
Speaking, not the only one, John Jones, my favorite fighter, my favorite UFC fighter of all time. He got busted a couple years ago from doing cocaine. But he ended up winning the fight a week after, regardless. But this has to have a conversation because, obviously John Jones did get busted for PED use. It's still debatable because the drug agency said it was unintentional. So, but it's still the idea that should that tarnish someone's legacy? Um, Doing drugs, marijuana, and stuff like that. Do you think it should tarnish someone's legacy if they get caught doing it?
well, here's my thing about drugs because I don't drink and I don't do drugs. You can't
You're
have both.
missing out, pal. No, I'm joking.
You can't have both. You can't be super athletic and especially you're a professional athlete at an elite level. Once you get to a certain point, when you let's say you get in the ring and you're a boxer and you're going 12 rounds, that means you're requiring your body to operate and perform at a high level for 12 fucking rounds. You can't do that when you're smoking weed, when you're drinking, excessive amounts of alcohol and snorting lines of cocaine. You can't do that because a quote that I never forgot that I've always remembered is they give you the money, they give you the talent, they give you the resources, they give you everything, they give you the women, they give you the power to give you drugs for you to give it right back. You'll give it all right back
Right.
because what happens? you're a top athlete, and this is really athlete specifically because I think when you're like a creative in another field, you can kind of get away with that. Like a Wiz Khalifa, it's his whole gimmick and image to sit around and smoke weed all day. But even him, he likes to train mixed martial arts. But when you're an athlete, like imagine how much flack Floyd Mayweather would get if he got popped for cocaine or some
Right.
kind of hardcore drug. People would throw this man under the bus, especially as many times as he's like denounced like drugs and PEDs and how he says he may go to the club, but he doesn't drink and he doesn't smoke, he doesn't do anything. So this is what I'm saying, especially for me, like weed and marijuana is one thing, especially, Stephen A. Smith always says, stay off the weed because it's not worth it. And to me, especially in this day and age, when you have film, you got movies that kind of depict what drugs can do to you. To me, in 2020, and I mean, this goes back for like 50, 40 fucking years. Because to me, cocaine hasn't really been in style since like the 60s and like maybe the 70s, but definitely like the 60s. You're an idiot if you do cocaine in 2020 because you know what it's going to do to you. Cocaine is a highly addictive drug. So usually if you do it once, you're probably going to do it again.
Right.
You're probably going to do this shit again. And especially if you got money and then whoever your connect is and your plug for getting this shit, they're going to be happy because they know they're going to keep making money off of you. And I bet you the person that's selling it to you is not doing the drugs. Any wise person would know, oh shit, like he's not even doing this shit, but I'm doing it. My favorite drug movie of all time, not even Scarface, because Scarface was using the shit, is New Jack City. Nino Brown didn't do drugs. He didn't smoke crack. He didn't smoke weed. He might have drank a little bit, but he didn't do drugs because he knew what that will do to the business. You know who started doing drugs? His right-hand man, G Money. And what happened? The minute he started smoking crack, he let Chris Rock infiltrate. Ice-T infiltrated. Business went to shit. $1 million a week business. Reduced to fucking rubbish. I'm quoting the movie. So this is what I'm saying. So drugs doesn't lead to anything positive. Right. Especially to me, I feel like they're legalizing weed on purpose. So there's a reason why they're legalizing weed. Because there's definitely some shit in there. If you're not growing
money, that's all it is.
If you're not growing your own bud in your backyard, there's no telling how many hands it got through before it got to you. And last week, maybe 2 weeks ago, I just read on Instagram that there was a 17 or 18-year-old kid, boy, and he died because his weed was laced with some crazy shit.
Sounds like K2, which is popular in New York.
So he just thought that he might have just been smoking a blunt, like probably just sitting there, you know what I mean? Then whatever happened, and then he just died for smoking fucking weed. When there's different alternatives, like you can meditate, you can, get girls, like go running, like there's other hobbies and outlets that you can do. Because notice how there are some people that can smoke weed socially, and then there's other people who have to do it every fucking day. To me, that you're addicted to it. Then that's my mentality. Like if you have to smoke weed every day, or I wake and bake, and then I can't go one day without two blunts in my system, 3 blunts, and then you constantly have to be in this state of high in order for you to function. You are addicted. You are no longer smoking weed. Weed is smoking you. That's just my mentality. To me, drugs, unless you're somebody with anxiety issues and you're using it for medicinal purposes or to like heal yourself, that is fine. And you're getting it from like a medical dispensary, great. But if you're somebody that you're constantly hitting up, yo, let me get a dime bag, yo, let me get a, you know what I'm saying, let me get this, let me get that, and then you can't stop, to me, you're too weak, because you should be able to stop whenever you want to. Like there's nothing wrong with smoking weed if you can quit. Because I'm saying there's something wrong with if you're an athlete and this is your profession, but yet you're putting all of that on the line, your credibility on the line for a line of cocaine, for a blunt, for that. When, like, let's say if you're an NFL player or NFL player, because I think Odell Beckham Jr. got into a little situation, I think a couple of years ago, where he was in a room and there was like a pizza box, and then there was a girl who was like snorting lines or some shit, but he got flack for just being in the room. just for being in the room.
Yeah.
And, you know, OBJ is like one of the biggest freaking, and he's young too. He's like one of the biggest NFL players right now. And he's like constantly in a state of injury, but he's still huge anyway, getting millions of dollars. If I'm them, I want to sustain that. I want to sustain my, look at LeBron James. Does LeBron James drink? I bet you he don't drink. Does LeBron James do drugs? I bet you he don't do drugs. How old is he? 30, 35, 30, 34, 35, 36 years old. Just won a championship. Spends $1 million a year on keeping his body up and building his body, not deteriorating the shit. Because it's just poison you're putting in your body if you're not doing it for medicinal purposes. And that's my opinion.
Yeah, well, I mean, I do vape. I you know, puff bar, really good. I just do it really, you know.
But you're not an athlete. This is what I'm saying.
Right. But
you're not an athlete, and that's not, you're not getting high off of that vape.
Yeah, true. But
you're not getting high off it. That's what I'm saying. But that's what I'm saying. So you subtract that vape and you put a blunt in your hand, and every time we do this podcast, you're just always smoking weed. That means you have no choice. You need that fix. And to me, that is a problem that most people don't really, because you have people who drink lean, and then it's like they can't get creative unless they drink the fucking lean.
Hey, my body, my choice, pal. No.
And you have to understand that these drugs, they change people over time. Like a lot of these people that you see that, like, look at a picture of them before they start smoking weed. And it's not to say that I'm an anti, weed person, because I have smoked weed before, but I haven't fucking smoked in like 2 years.
Bad boy. No.
I haven't smoked in 2 years. But that's what I'm saying. So you look at them, and mind you, I wasn't like a smoker that I had to smoke every day. But you look at somebody that does this shit every day, and then fast forward 2 years, they don't even look the same. They don't look the same. Look at Snoop Dogg. Snoop Dogg is in his 40s, but yet he looks older than my pops.
If you try to run down the block, I'm sure he gassed himself.
Thank you. Out. He looked like he's freaking 65. Wiz Khalifa is like the only one that for some reason, and maybe it's because he's so young, but he's the only one that looks like he hasn't aged. You know what I'm saying? Like he doesn't look older or shriveled up like a freaking prune. But he's a rare case. And sometimes, I mean, this is just a theory, but a lot of these celebrities, they might not even be smoking as much as you think that they are. That's just their gimmick.
Yeah.
Let's say he might have quit. He could just be wasting weed. Like just not really inhaling this shit. You don't know, because the guy goes to MMA gym every day.
Right. Yeah, fitness is a big thing. And that's why a lot of people feel like Mike Tyson might lose, because he's still an advocate of weed. He has his own marijuana strain. And a lot of people think that he's going to gas out real quick. Maybe 2 rounds in, he's going to be sucking for wind, and Roy Jones is going to capitalize on that. And that's a big thing. And I only mention that because, people like John Jones, right, who is still regarded as one of the greatest of all time, if not the greatest of all time. He is known, he's been popped for failed drug tests because he was a hard partier, did cocaine, smoked weed. But John Jones has maintained that level of, invulnerability in a sense. Yeah, he has some close fights, but besides a one disqualification loss, I mean, he hasn't really lost a fight. But then you look at people like Nate Diaz, who I love, the Diaz brothers, one of the most adorable people you'll ever meet. And these dudes, smoke a lot of weed, and they're 50-50 fighters. They lose one fight, lose another fight, win one fight, lose 2 fights. And it's just, look, I'm not here to tell people what to do, because at the end of the day, people are going to do whatever they want. But for someone like Mike Tyson, especially if he's serious on coming back even after, because he is talking about doing more fights, he might have to put down the blunt. He might have to change, because you can't be a professional athlete doing all this stuff that impacts your system, and you gassing out after 3 minutes. So,
both, because that's my thing. Hey, all my favorite fighters in boxing, and that's another thing. Boxing taught me a lot about just taking care of your body, taking care of yourself, and operating just on a high level. My mentality is, hey, if I'm ever in a situation where I don't have my car and I have a couple miles to go and I gotta go on foot, I should be able to make that jog easy.
Right.
Easy. You know why? That came from boxing, because when I got into boxing, I'm looking at these guys and I'm like, I want that for myself. I want to be able to require certain things from my body and my body to be able to do that. You know, health is wealth, because I'm like, what's the point in having all of that and then your mind is gone?
Right.
Like, I just don't understand that. Like, somebody, like I talked about Soulja Boy, you know, on a couple of the, you know, these podcasts, and he's somebody that smokes weed every day. And me being a fan for as long as I've been, I could just tell the difference between like the beginning of his career when it probably wasn't as much, and then like all the weed and lean and all this other shit after. It's not the same guy. Not the same guy. And I look at that like, I don't want that for myself. Because it's not worth it. Like, what did weed ever do for me? What, make me laugh and then want to eat?
Yeah.
That's about it. And you're spending money to do that. You're spending money to do that. And especially most people, they smoke around the evening. I don't want to get pulled over by a cop, because I already know if I'd be too busy trying to get in my right mind if I get pulled over by a cop. And I'm under the influence on top of that. I can't afford that in 2020, 2019, 2018. You know what I'm saying? So for me, it's just not worth it. Especially if I'm a professional athlete. Especially if I'm a championship athlete. Why am I smoking weed?
Right.
Why am I snorting coke, like, of all shit, like, to get a high? When I'm like, yo, you got millions of dollars. You can just get up and say, yo, I want to go to Japan. I want to go to Indonesia. I want to go here. I want to rent. Like, to me, that would be a high for me. I have John Jones money, and I could just decide, yo, you know what? I can get all my friends back. I just rented out an island tomorrow. Let's all get on a private jet and go. That to me is a high. That's a high. Yo, let's get 30 women, 40, 50 women. Like, the problem with Wolf of Wall Street, you want to know why? Is because they were doing so much fucking drugs. It screwed up the business. That's the problem. To me, I just don't understand it. I don't get it.
You know what it is, man? And I watched an interview about this. It's because for a lot of them, you know, Bow Wow was talking about it. You get to a place where, all right, I'm not gonna knock Mike Tyson and people like John Jones. There's plenty of other athletes that got busted, but for a lot of them, they do it in their younger years, like our age, because you know you got all this money, you have a lot of people in your circle, and you just want to have a good time. But a lot of people also do it for the escape of it. You know, people will do weed and drink lean and all that stuff because it allows them to take away the pressures that come with the limelight, the work.
Well, I just gave you one. I just said one.
Yeah, but
you got $80 fucking million in your goddamn bank account, and then you could just say, yo, I want to go here by my freaking self. These guys could probably get one of those crazy freaking house porn. Like, you know what I'm talking about? Like those Instagram accounts that they have these crazy sweet mansions with like this freaking all the way in the mountains, like totally isolated from society. You want an escape? Go there for freaking 3 freaking weeks and not pick up. You can go there without your phone, with nothing, all the food in the world, by your goddamn self. So if you want a distraction, there you go. You want you want to escape? There you. To me, and this is just a broke man's perspective. I just don't understand that, because again, I'm somebody that I've smoked weed before. I don't, especially. Why would I want to compromise my mind when all the high that I would ever need, I would get from my freaking bank account, from what I'm able to do on a freaking whim?
Right.
I get it. When you're an NBA player or NFL player and you have the season, obviously, which is every day, so that means your whole pretty much year is pretty much mapped out for you. You have your practice, you got, you know, whatever it is, the workouts, and then you have the game, and then you repeat. So I understand that. However, that's what you signed up for. You signed up for that, because especially this is what I'm saying, as a professional boxer, and I love the sport, I'm gonna eat, breathe, sleep, shit boxing. There's no room to be doing drugs, especially like if you're an NFL player. I would assume that you started doing it because you love to play football. So why do you need an escape from doing what you love to do? So then do you really love it then? Right. I still like. I'm pretty sure if LeBron James was in on this podcast right now, he would agree with what I'm saying.
But I think it's different for some people, because like I'm not advocating that people go out there and do, you know, all of these type of drugs. But for a lot of professional athletes, you also have to think about, not all of them do it, but a lot of them do marijuana stuff because imagine all the pressure your body takes from getting punched in the head, all your legs being bruised up, your body being hurt. And for some people, like Mike Tyson, he probably traveled the world thousands of times. So for him, going to Cancun is just another Monday night.
Well, don't go
So,
to dumbass Cancun, because
well,
Cancun, nothing culture about Cancun. Well, you know what you do in that situation where your body's all messed up and taking damage every day. Do what LeBron James is doing. Invest in your recovery, because that's what LeBron James does. One a podcast that I have saved on my phone is what he was talking about recovery, particularly sleep, but he was talking about recovery, essentially. That's what he does. You think he's in the gym all the time? No, because most people, I mean, me and you work out. The most important part about working out is the recovery.
right,
That's where you get the gains. You don't really get the gains in the gym. You get the gains when you're resting, when you're asleep. Do what he's doing. Like, if you're a famous NFL player, I'm pretty sure it wouldn't take much to get a hold of LeBron James and get some pointers from LeBron James, because I'm pretty sure he could, share some of his pie in terms of what he does for bodily recovery.
right.
I say the same sentiment as Stephen A. Smith. It's just I don't see the point in doing that. Especially, I know that the pressure that a person who doesn't have any money and has encumbered with bills and stuff and not a lot of support is way more than what an athlete goes through. I'm just saying, because people say more money, more problems. I don't agree, because you might have more problems, but we talked about this before, but the M's in the bank helps you deal with those problems a lot better. Yay! So I don't know. Like me personally, I'm a pro athlete. All of that is going to recovery. I can hire a fleet of masseuses to help me recover my body, ice baths, cryo chambers. I can have all of that set up right when I get home. So if it's for bodily pain, and you're an NFL player, you have the resources to take care of that. So
Right.
I don't see why weed would ever just become an option. And this is just my opinion. This is not to condemn weed smokers and all the other types of stuff. It's just I'm just not somebody that is in support of that based on what my beliefs are, which comes from boxing, essentially. Because Floyd Mayweather and LeBron James and Michael Jordan, who he smokes cigars, but aside from that, they are a perfect example of the peaks and the absolute zenith of success that you can get to when you don't drink and when you don't smoke and do drugs. LeBron James, Michael Jordan, Floyd Mayweather. I want to be like them, because they didn't do that. So if not doing that can get me at least on the way to where they're at, then by all means, I make that choice. Because to me, I was never somebody that I have to drink or I have to smoke to have a good time. That's how some people are. They can't even enjoy the moment without having to light a blunt up.
Right.
I was a social guy. Like, all right, we might be at a party. All right, cool. You know what I'm saying? If I'm at, like, let's say, like, yeah, if I'm at a wedding or some shit, and then if you got married, 3 years from now or some shit, and then you had a big ass wedding with a lot of women and all that shit, yeah, I'm gonna drink. You know what I mean? I'm gonna invest in the moment. But aside from that, my day-to-day life, nah.
Nah, it's for a lot of people it's fun, but for a lot, like Mike Tyson and all the other athletes that have been doing it, when you start at a younger age, it's just one of those things where it's fun. You want to try something new, like John Jones was talking about. The reason why he did cocaine at like 25 was because he thought it was just to try something new. And
He's
then,
dumb. He's
and
dumb.
I mean, thank God he's not addicted to it. But
how you know? He's
because
he's
he's a drinker now. I mean, he's
to try something.
just this year he got pulled over for drunk driving. But
when did John Jones become famous again? My bad. When did he become famous? How old was he?
23.
I mean, it just makes me question his foundation or how he came up, because like I said, me, watching movies and shit like that, every time I saw cocaine in a movie, that shit scared the shit out of me.
Yeah.
It scared the shit out of me. Like, I never looked at a movie with cocaine in it and said, this is some shit that I want to try, or this is like a regular drug. This shit always looked like, you get addicted to it. It makes you beat up women. It makes you angry. Like, these, like, and who would do that? I don't know. You watch Scarface, freaking super successful rich drug lord, and he was doing drugs, and then all that shit did was compromise his decisions. And then look what happened by the end of the movie. He was
It's all
dead.
about curiosity, man. A lot of people are
Killed the
curious.
cat.
A lot of
There are
people are curious, and
curiosity killed the cat.
now it's. I mean, I'm not a hypocrite. I've never done any of this. I mean, yeah, I'll be lying if I say I haven't tried a little bit of the green lettuce, but I think for a lot of people, when they get to a certain point in their career, especially for a lot of athletes, it's just a mind escape because yeah, you can have millions of dollars, but when you have problems at home, things are going wrong with your
Go to
kids.
therapy.
Yeah, but for some people, that
Get more
escape is
women.
just to sit back, light one up, and
Get
let
more
the
women.
mind just wander. You know what I'm saying? So
Have an escape house where no one can go to but you. Like, because I know, like, let's say Matt Barnes. You know Matt Barnes. He has the All the Smoke podcast. Some, I forgot. I think I saw Showtime. He smokes a lot of weed. I know that they're out there. It's just for me personally. I can only surmise if I was in their shoes, drugs would be the last thing that I did. In fact, it's like if we were doing drugs in my house, I'd kick you the fuck out. Like, you got your own house to be doing that shit at. Like weed, yeah, that's one thing. Weed's not that bad, but like hardcore drugs, prescription pills, and all this shit that these rappers like promote. Like Future's always talking about Percocets. I know he doesn't do them. I know for a fact this man doesn't do it. Or I mean, let's say if he does, he's even more dumb, but I don't think he does. Like, you think Drake is doing a whole bunch of crazy? I don't think so. Because he doesn't even look like the guy who smokes weed.
I don't put it past them.
As a
I
drug
don't
user.
put it past them.
I
He may not be
mean,
doing cocaine, but he may not be an avid person, but I wouldn't put it past him.
Well, put like this. I mean, there's always that notion that, when you reach a certain level of success, you're gonna be in a room where people are doing that shit, honestly. And I would just hope that people who do end up in those situations, remain, just have that moral compass. Like, I don't do that shit. And you know how people are, oh, come on, man, it's just a line, just do this shit. Yeah. I'll be like, you really want me to mess my business up? Like, you trying to fuck me up? Like
someone like John Jones, who is the most dynamic, dangerous UFC fighter and of all time, in my opinion, and a lot of other people's opinions.
It just goes into what I said, where I wouldn't blame, like, all right, he may be a great athlete and everything like that, but because you're black, because I'm pretty sure there's a lot of white athletes that do that shit. I'm pretty sure there's more white athletes that snort coke than black people. So this is why, when a John Jones gets caught up, it's a big fucking deal. But this is my thing. When you know the situation that you're in and you're black, and any little thing that you do that can be perceived as bad is going to get sensationalized times 10. To me, any acts in the direction of cocaine and all that shit is rooted in stupidity and ignorance. So I don't blame people for doing that, because you deserve it. So if that was the case, John Jones deserves it, because you knew it was a scorpion when you picked it up. Stephen A. Smith says that all the time. I'm pretty sure you go on YouTube right now and then you look up Stephen A. Smith speaks on athlete drug use. He's gonna say the same shit that I said. Like, do whatever you want when you're not an athlete, but when you're still an athlete and you're in season or you're in camp and all that shit, and you're constantly getting drug tested, you're a dumbass, because you know what's on the line. And in John Jones' case, it's your reputation. You're black. If Conor McGregor gets caught freaking snorting coke, everybody's going to be like, oh, he's a rock star, and no one's going to fucking care. Facts or not. Let's say, and what's funny, I came to like Israel Adesanya, the guy who he likes anime and all that shit, and we're like the same height. His like birth, he's a Cancer too and everything.
Before we get right back into the action, thank you for tuning in to another charismatic episode. If you are interested on being on the Prince of Fresh Air podcast, you can hit me up on Instagram at Mr. No Days Off Percy. Again, that's Mr. No Days Off Percy. You can also go to anchor.fm/ the Prince of Fresh Air, the homepage. You can also find my social media links there. And if you're also interested in sending in voice messages or donating, you can also do that as well. I would love to use the proceeds to go to a local food bank or a warmer house, and I can take up to $10,000. I'm not going to complain. But yeah, thank you for tuning into another episode. Let me know your thoughts and opinions, what I can improve, or something that you enjoy, and let's get right back to the action, shall we?
If that happened to him, people are gonna throw this nigga under the bus. They're going to throw him under the bus. And my whole thing would be like, yo, you were on your way without all this shit. You were on your way to being perceived as a fucking legend, which your hardcore fans are still going to look at you as such. But you know damn well every documentary that's going to be made about you, they're going to bring that shit up now. So it's a stain. It's like a perfect canvas. And then you just throw shit on there. And even if you try to wipe it off, that stain is still going to be there. And it wasn't worth it in the first place. It wasn't worth it. But so, not that I put like this. This is my opinion, you know. But if let's say Floyd Mayweather were to do that, he doesn't even have to lose in the ring, because now you took that L outside the ring. And when you're black, that's how it is. That's how it is. Perfection doesn't exist, but at least you can aim for that shit. Because I'm telling you, if somehow, even if Floyd Mayweather has not stepped in the ring, now he will be 51-1. If Michael Jordan, if they were to find out that, you know, in the Last Dance documentary, how when he first was a player on the for Chicago, and I think this was maybe 80, maybe I guess maybe his first couple of seasons. So I want to say like the mid 80s, and how when he first got to the team, how when they were in the hotels, he walked into the hotel room where all his players was at, his teammates were at, and then they had girls in the room and they were doing wild shit. Now I can only imagine that they were like probably like snorting lines off of girls' asses and all that shit. Like he said, I ain't gonna say what they were doing, but he was like they were doing wild shit, and he wasn't doing none of that. Now look at, are people making documentaries about those players? No, they're making documentaries about the dude that walked out and was doing laundry and doing what he was supposed to be doing.
Right.
Freaking Michael Jordan's a goddamn billionaire now. So these are the heights of success that you can reach if you just and look, he was just a gambler. And look at all the flack that he took. So imagine if that was cocaine that they found on him. You don't get a pass when you're black. You don't get a pass. And these people that we're talking about, they're older than we are. So if I feel like that and I know all these things, they definitely know that, and then they're still doing dumb shit. So then it's your fault. So you deserve it.
Yeah, but I think so. For me, I feel like, you know, is that a blemish that they probably will never escape? Absolutely. But I think at the end of the day, look, man, we're all people. I'm not here to bust people balls just because I understand they are professional athletes. They should have a higher code of conduct. But, you know, if you get popped for doing drugs or like, look, at the end of the day, you know, there's bodybuilders that do steroids all the time, and they go and win all these competitions. So I feel like, you know, from Mike Tyson to John Jones, what they do inside the ring, does their personal life be taken into consideration? Absolutely. But I feel like at the end of the day, their work in the ring speaks for itself. And that right there, you can criticize the characters, but I think you can't take away what they've done in the ring, because I mean, to be 27, 27 and 1, you know, have 14 championship fights, won all of them. Like John Jones, I'm talking about. Mike Tyson, just his career speaks for itself. I feel like, yeah, can you criticize them as people? Absolutely. But I just feel like just because they've done these things, that their work inside their career should just be tarnished because of it. So
it's to me, it's like this. It's not even really attack on them personally. It's just I say this all the time, the way you conduct yourself. I'm not. It's like, you know, if I get in an argument with my girl, I'm not attacking you as my girl. I'm attacking the shit that you did. You see what I'm saying? Like I can remember having arguments about like that all the time. I'm like, yo, I'm not attacking you. I don't approve of the shit that you just did.
Right.
Now, if you're saying that that your choices reflect your character as a person, well, then that's on you. But for me, Stephen A. says this all the time. He's like, yo, you're a great person. All that stuff. He's like, I love Odell Beckham as an athlete and everything like that. But when you're doing weed and you're compromising these $50 million contracts that you could be getting and shit like that because you can't wait to smoke weed until after you negotiate your contract, you're a dumbass. you're an idiot. Like there's no condoning that shit. Or your choices are idiotic and rooted in dumbassness. Because there's somebody else who would kill to be in your position. Would kill to get to just have a fight and make $50,000. And then these guys are making M's and then squandering that shit, and then their fight gets canceled, or they don't get their contract, or they get kicked off the team because of drugs.
Yeah.
An hour, a high that's only gonna last you maybe 3, maybe 4 hours. You know what I'm saying? 2, because most of the time, you know what I heard with cocaine is that you have to keep getting more and more because this shit don't last too long. 30-minute highs and stuff, being angry. Like who wants to do a drug? Like, that's what I'm saying. I'm like, alcohol is legal, and yet that's the drug. That's really, I feel like alcohol is kind of like a drug too. But that's the shit that people drink, and those are the shits that make people beat their fucking wives. Cocaine is the shit that you do fucking line, you get angry. All it's just gonna do is amplify your anger into rage. And people do this shit anyway. Like I just, again, I wouldn't even want to be cool with somebody who does some shit like that, to be honest with you. Because again, watch New Jack City. That's just my mentality. Like I can't do business with a motherfucker that would do crack. Like look at Samuel L. Jackson. He used to do, you know, all types of shit, you know, back in the 80s. When he got sober, look at him now. Highest grossing actor of all time.
Yeah.
That's the dude from Star Wars now. These are and he's an actor, so he's in our field. So these are the heights that you could attain. And he's 70 something years old, and he looks like he's 50. He looks like he's in his 40s. So the minute he got sober and he turned his life around, look at him now.
Right.
Not one iota of aside from that, which isn't even really controversy because he wasn't famous back then. You see what I'm saying? So not one iota of controversy to go with his name. Not one. Because I want to be like a Denzel fucking Washington. I want to be somebody that whatever my profession is, I do that profession well. I get in the industry, I do what I got to do, and I get out and I can live the rest of my life. And when people think of me, they're not thinking about some shit like, oh, he used to, because like I said, look at all Michael Jordan would do is gamble to make more money. So pretty much he was trying to make more money. And look, The Last Dance, like freaking in the 90s, they were trying to chew him up for gambling, which is really, you're just trying to make money. Now, obviously, people have gambling issues, but that's a whole separate thing. You see what I'm saying? I just look at people who when they achieve greatness, it's solely about greatness. You look at Drake, no one says shit about him. It's purely about his music and what he does. That's what I want for myself. I want when people think of me, they think of my craft, my work, what I'm here to do. They're not thinking about all the other crap because, again, cocaine is not cheap. I can only imagine like how much that shit probably costs for you to get, because usually that's like a rich person's drug. You know, 9 times out of 10, that money that I can use that shit for a first class ticket to freaking, I don't know, Fiji some goddamn where, and staying in a rainforest and shit by myself if I want to stay there, or with legions of freaking women. Like you, I don't know. Everybody has their vices. You know, mine are not drugs. Mine just happen to not be drugs. So
yeah, you know, the takeaway message is basically,
don't do
if anybody listen, don't do drugs. And if you are, because we can't control everybody, but be responsible.
They want.
Just be responsible and be aware of what you're doing. It can affect your health in many ways than you realize.
But your mind.
And your mind too, yeah, that's important.
Mind is a terrible thing to waste.
100%, man, and that's the bottom line. Because Stone Cold said so. Any final words?
Think for yourself. Don't do drugs. Focus on the things that matter. Check out my YouTube page, Mr. DJ MDJ, and yeah, I'll see y'all on the next one.
This guy just keeps plugging this stuff without my consent. But anyway, like I always say, a helping hand is a better hand.
Oh, thank you.